Welcome to the Layman's Guide to the World Cup. I'm Henry.
And I'm Ben.
Um, Ben is a friend of mine. If you've been watching, I've been mostly doing this solo, but Ben's joining us. He's a big USMT fan, just like I am. He's got like a cool Umbro kit going on right now.
Yeah, man, this is the finest fake jersey that Sam's Club can offer because I'm a sucker for an old school Umbro kit with a collar.
Yeah,
And this might be the greatest $8 I have ever spent in the last several months. So
yeah.
it can't be any worse than the 94 denim jersey.
That's true. That's true. I don't know if you've noticed, like I've been for like last month at HEB, they've had those like knockoff jerseys of almost every nation, or at least the big nations. Have you been noticing they've been putting those out?
I've seen those. I'm not gonna lie, after I did buy the navy blue away Stars jersey, and I'm saving that for the first group stage game. But pretty fired up.
Nice. Nice. Um, well, I got good old Dempsey right behind us.
I mean, he's an
And,
American hero.
the classic, if you remember the sash.
That's one of my favorite jerseys.
Yeah. I'm debating whether buying our current because I'm well, that fell. Professional podcasting at its finest, as they say. Um, I'm debating whether to get the because the Where's Waldo jersey, the original one, is probably my favorite.
those
So,
those are pretty solid as well.
so I'm thinking about getting this year's. It's just I might wait till after the World Cup when there might be a price cut, you know,
That's fair. That's fair.
because I don't know if any of y'all out there have paid attention. Some of these official licensed jerseys are getting ridiculous in price.
It's
Over
pretty it's
a
pretty
hundred.
awful.
So,
Yeah.
so I think that was $80 with the Dempsey patch on back in what this was 2010? No, no, this is 2014, wasn't it? I think it's 2014.
Think so. Yeah.
Yeah. His 2010 was the white with the
With them.
little stripes.
Yep.
Yeah. So I
Yeah,
remember.
we've had some unremarkable jerseys. I'm hoping to get something that actually sticks.
Well, that's the other thing that sucks about being a US fan is they change the jersey every year, where most national teams change it every cycle. So it kind of, it's like which I guess this has to do with US sports. That's a tradition, NFL, NBA, whatever. We got to get whatever's new.
Yeah, just, there's the classics out there, and it's a shame. Like the Brazil kit that's
Yeah.
been fairly consistent for the last 65 years, and it's incredible.
Yeah. I guess because I don't think we don't have as
But
much soccer culture yet. Like we don't,
that's
the tradition isn't there like a Brazil
that's
or,
true.
or the Italy jersey doesn't change much either.
No, but
RIP and
but you
Pete's. So,
true. But you have my favorite unofficial jersey hanging on the other
yes.
side there, the Constitution jersey. I almost wore that one tonight, but again, I'll save that for the group stages.
Yeah.
Such a clean
I'll probably
jersey.
wear this for the first one. Basically, if you want the lore on this jersey, is the last World Cup's jersey was
Yeah.
so awful that people were just making mock jerseys of like we could do something better. And this was Olive and York is the brand. Um, and so if you can see it, the writing there is what it's the preamble, isn't it, to the Constitution? If I remember
Yeah.
correctly. Yeah, so
Yep.
it's printed on there in exactly how it is on the Constitution. So, and it's that gold and black, and it's gorgeous. So I'll be definitely wearing that for our first match. Because that one, I was a lot younger back then, and I don't fit in that anymore. So, but let's get to it, Ben. First thing first, the vibe check. How are you feeling about the U.S. team? How are you feeling about the World Cup in general? What's the
I mean,
vibe?
I feel a whole lot better after the game on Sunday. That's for sure. Just a friendly, but I went to the Belgium game and it was a pretty dark experience. So, um, yeah, who knows? definitely after Belgium and Portugal, this was a welcome change, and hopefully a move in the right direction.
Yeah. For context, for people that maybe you don't watch US soccer, we lost 5-2 to Belgium.
Yep.
And then we lost to Portugal 2-0. This was in March. So this last Sunday, our first friendly tune-up match for the World Cup, we played Senegal, champions of Africa, or I should say the rightful champions of Africa, and we beat them 3-2. So that was encouraging. I think Ben will be most encouraging is seeing what we do Saturday against Germany. That'll be for those at home. If Saturday is when you can watch the next tune-up friendly, and it'll be against Germany. So it's good to play these high caliber opponents before the World Cup to kind of get where are we at? Give us some hope.
Yeah. Exactly.
So, but in general, are you excited for the World Cup, or does it feel like
Um,
it's imminent?
I'm pumped. Yeah, cannot wait.
Cool. So I guess with that though, who's your favorite to win? Who's your dark horse, and who's your vibes team? I know that's a hard question because there's 48 teams. So
No, it's tough. I mean, this is like being asked in church what your favorite book is, and you feel bad if you say anything other than the Bible. So I would love to see the U.S. win the World Cup. I also would not put money on that. I think my favorite has got to be Spain. I love watching the Spanish national team play. I think, you know, after the Euros 2 years ago, that most of that core is still pretty intact. I think it's incredible. Also, as a non-Real Madrid fan, the fact that no one on Madrid got called up to the national team roster just cracks me up. So this would be
that was
just
that was really hilarious. The
the
conspiracy
ultimate gut
theories on the
punch.
internet. Yeah.
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 Um,
Yeah.
gosh, I think. Go ahead.
Well, I was gonna say my favorite right now, I'm thinking is Portugal. Maybe that's the Manchester United bias because of Bruno Fernandez saved our season. But I really think with him being the engine, Vitinha going on two Champions League final wins, and he was man of the match for that one. So,
Yeah.
and they're just all around solid, and they have good depth. And then you have Cristiano Ronaldo, his last World Cup. So, can they make some magic happen?
Yeah, potential is definitely there.
Yeah. So, what do you think for Dark Horse?
My dark horse and vibes team are one and the same. So I'm
Okay.
just gonna lump them together. I love what Norway has done over the qualifying cycle. I think it's crazy. They are just fun to watch. They score ridiculous. They just attack, attack, attack. It's a blast. I don't know if they have enough horsepower to go the whole way, but I think they're going to ruin a lot of people's tournament, and I'm pretty excited about that.
Yeah, they are my dark horse as well. Just Holland himself. How will he terrorize every team's defense? Because that's the other thing. The beauty of Norway is they have other attackers, and what at least for Man City, what Holland always does is all the defense is so focused on him, and you may be like, he's not scoring goals, but because they're focusing on him so hardly, the other attackers will score, and they have some good attackers as well outside of him. Um, so I'm excited. I don't know if you saw the new Viking chant that the Norwegian fans introduced for the friendly this last
I
weekend.
s- no, I saw some headlines about it, but I haven't seen it yet.
It's like rowing a boat, and they're like drum, and then it's like, oh, then they're doing that in their seats. So just like a Viking rowing their boat. It's
That's
pretty legit.
solid.
It's I would say it rivals the Iceland Viking clap. The one that's the full that. So
Yeah.
it's gonna be fun watching them. But yeah, they're definitely vibes as well. I think their fans are gonna bring something special to the table. My vibe team, which if you watched the episode yesterday, I gushed on them a little bit, is Scotland. I think they're a team, especially that midfield of McTominay and McGinn. I think people are underestimating them.
Yeah.
And, I think they could either be pretty good and maybe make all the way to quarterfinals, or they're going to be a dumpster fire. But the fans are going to be fun. So one or the other. You never know. So with that, Ben, what's kind of your history with U.S. soccer? Um,
I was thinking about this. So I'm a little bit older than you are.
yeah,
The first like World Cup that I can remember bits and pieces of was '94, and my vivid memory is Alexi Lawless in the
yes,
denim jersey with a headband and like
big
the
hair.
red goatee, the big hair, and then going to Serie A after that. So that's probably, I grew up playing youth soccer, and that probably is when it first has been a thing on my radar. And I've just gotten more and more, honestly, engaged with it as I've, grown up and been able to be closer to some of the stadiums where some of the games are being played. And so,
Yeah,
getting to see a friendly when I can, or go to, like went to a Copa game. I mean, uh, I track the team quite a bit. I'm invested maybe too much in how everything goes, but I just love it.
yeah. For me, my history is 2006. That was my first World Cup. A little bit of an age difference, right? But I just remember us getting that draw against Italy in the first game, and I thought we could win the World Cup. But of course, I was a young child. I was in junior high. I thought, and dreams could be made, and then
Yeah, yeah. I think the we both have we both have had the getting your hearts broken by the U.S. men's team, and it just means I've gotten to see a few more of those than you have. But
yeah,
it's been fun.
yeah. So, just to get this whole team set up, we have to look at the recent history. This will kind of show a lot. And really, I think the best place to start is that 2018 World Cup was where this era all started, right, Ben? That's when we
Yeah,
failed to qualify, and US soccer was like, let's just make clean slate, let's bring in the youth.
it. Yeah, I vividly remember sitting. I was at a soccer bar in Dallas watching that game with a buddy, and it just was a heartbreaker to lose to Trinidad and Tobago. And the game ended, and it like the collective anger and grief was it was rough. Triggered a lot of changes, and then there's a lot of valid complaints or criticisms of the good old boy network that has been U.S. soccer, and
Yeah.
the hiring structure and the manager structure, and the whole blow it up and do something better. And it's been a mixed bag of results
Yeah.
in that entire process.
Yeah. I can remember it was the first because Emily and I were recently married after a couple months before that. And that was the first time I think she ever saw me really get angry at a soccer game. So that was our first real big experience since we were living together. Um, but yeah, from there, clean slate. We brought in Greg Berhalter, and which for a lot of the problems that Greg had, that man could recruit people. He should work for a college, football team, and he could take, like, let's just say, like, Kansas, who's really bad at football, and then all of a sudden they can become like as good as Alabama in a dynasty. I feel like that's how good of a recruiter he is. So, because that was a big part of his tenure from that first 4-year cycle was recruiting. That's where we got Anthony Robinson in. We got Serginho Destin. We got quite a few players coming in and being a part of our system that were people that were born in America, maybe raised somewhere else, and we got them in the buy-in to kind of
Yeah.
come in. And that all culminated with 2022 World Cup, where basically we had no one on the team that's ever been to a World Cup. We had the youngest team at that World Cup. And so with that, it was just good to get them experience. We made it to the round of 16. Cool. That was kind of like a vibes World Cup. Let's get experience. Let's kind of get this out of the way. And then we rehired Greg, right? And that's kind of
Oh,
where our tactics weren't evolving or anything like that. It was just
yep.
same old, same old. And other teams could pick us apart. I remember the Jesse Marsh quote. which I got in just so we don't have to go through it, Ben, but on the Canada episode, I went into the whole storyline history of Jesse's anger with US national.
Yeah, we are not sending each other Christmas cards for sure.
Yes. So like people know our tactics, and that blew up in our face in Copa America because it was hosted in America. It was a big celebration, I think 100 years, I think, of the Copa, I think it
Yep.
was. And we got grouped.
I, I
And
saw the only good game in that tournament. I saw the first game against Bolivia, and it was a win. And that was the high point of our Copa experience. Everything else was pretty terrible. Yeah, that triggered some major changes.
yeah, which that brought in the Pochettino era, which has been interesting to say the least, right, Ben? It's been,
Yeah.
I feel like I think the best way to describe the Pochettino era, for anyone that doesn't know Mauricio Pochettino, probably his claim to fame is when he was at Tottenham. He took them all the way to a European final, which that sounds weird for Tottenham. They lost to Liverpool in the final, but he was constantly having them compete, not just for just making it into the Champions League, but actually competing for the Premier League title one season. So he had his bona fides. He coached at PSG and Chelsea as well. So big name coach coming in.
Mhm.
But I think it's safe to say from the moment he got in, it felt like we're just tinkering every time and there was no set whatever. What are we doing here? You keep on changing things. You keep on getting new people in. I think there was like almost like 60 something different players he used. And it just felt changing of tactics, changing of everything, just every week. And we didn't know, it was like, where's some consistency here, you know? So I don't know if you felt the same thing.
I haven't. I think the message for the last 2 years has been trust the process, trust the process, trust the process, and we're fixing to come at a point where this is all going to come to head, and either we will see validation of the process, or we're going to have a really rough group stage, and it's going to be another real unhappy chapter in U.S. soccer. So we'll see.
Yeah, which that gets us to, we lost the Nations League for the first time. We had won it in every edition, and then we made it to the final of the Gold Cup, and that was looking promising. We lost to Mexico, and actually a good game. Just we just had some inexperienced players for that tournament that kind of got caught out by Mexico. So, and then it's been a mixed bag of friendly since then. Some high points like 5-1 to beating Uruguay 5-1, making, you know, Uruguay look like like it's like little old no, not Panama, that's a bad example. Maybe like San Marino or something like that. But then we just like we talked about, Belgium and Portugal did not look great.
Yeah, that was
So mixed
yeah,
bag.
yeah, it was a rough March. I'm anxiously looking ahead to Saturday and what what the what the plan is that's becomes apparent when the lineup for Germany is announced.
Yeah. With that, going for that mixed bag tactics. Because if you watch soccer, for those out there, different teams play different ways. And there's one thing that's kind of been consistent with Pochettino is we've been playing a high press. I think that's probably the one consistent thing that we've been doing, whether or not whatever the amalgamation of people, where and when, but that's kind of been what we've been playing. Which high presses are definitely, if you have the right players, it's great. But if you don't, it's high risk, high reward. Would you say that, Ben? Would you agree to that?
I would. I do love that it's kind of a callback to 20 years ago when there was a major technical skills gap on an individual level, the U.S. soccer ethos was we'll be in better condition than you and we'll outrun you, we'll outpress you, we'll outlast you. And that I do love that the high press kind of is a callback to that, but it takes having better athletes than people you're playing. And that's the heart, that's the sticking point.
Yeah, and also just I think what we'll talk about later, the right spine in the system, I think is also matters a lot. So we're hoping and praying, Ben, right, that he's sticking to the 3-4-2-1. That's that's the formation we beat Uruguay with, Paraguay, Australia. We beat Japan and we beat Senegal. So when we did not play this formation against Portugal and play again and Belgium, we saw what happened there. So hopefully we'll stick to this formation. This we're going to use because I think it benefits our system, our players that we have the most. But with that, let's get into those players. Um, for y'all at home, we're going to go into this by position. So we're not doing like a number thing, like number one is so and so, number two, yada yada yada. We're gonna go by position. We'll talk about kind of our feelings on the position, whether it's a strength, whether it's a weakness, um, and do we think this is where things will be created? What we'll be talking about it. So we'll get into it. Excuse me. First is the goalkeeper. We have Chris Brady from the Chicago Fire. He got his first appearance this last Sunday against Senegal. We had Matt Freeze from
Rough one.
yeah, it was a rough one. Matt Freeze from New York City FC. He has 14 appearances. And then Matt Turner, New England Revolution, has 54 appearances, and he's the only goalkeeper with World Cup experience. He was part of that. He was the number one at the 22 World Cup. So, Ben, this is probably our weakest spot, would you say?
I I think absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah. Which is hard for us as US fans because historically this has been our best from Friedel to Keller to Meola to Howard to even Brad Guzan. Like this was something we had on lock. We always had a player playing in the Prem as well. Our goalkeeper was usually playing in the Premier League, you know.
Yep.
Um, and now we're down to MLS goalkeepers that they have good days and they have bad days, if that's a fair way of putting it.
Yeah. Yeah, that's probably the best way to put it.
So I will point this out. Matt Freeze, though, is a penalty specialist. So if we do go to penalties, it is nice to have a goalkeeper like that. If you want to go watch highlights from the Costa Rica Gold Cup game where he saved three, that was ridiculous. So
Yeah. I,
it,
I really thought that game would have locked down a starting spot for him, but I am unable to figure out what is going to happen there.
yeah, I think because for y'all at home, he's been starting Matt Freeze for the last since that Gold Cup. And then all of a sudden on Senegal game, he started Matt Turner. So you're like, what is he doing here? But to be fair, he also subbed Matt off mid-game and put Chris Brady, which then that's where bad goalkeeping happened. Um, so I think the Germany game will be telling.
Yep.
I
Yeah,
think,
and it was
go ahead.
and it was good to see. I mean, Matt Turner had a great half. Probably after, he the Portugal or the Belgium game was the last time he got a start, I believe, and it was rough. So I was really happy to see him have a good start. But I'm kind of have some ideas based on the logic of the Senegal game to what the Germany game lineup looks like. But I'll be curious to see how that shakes out.
Yeah, I think what would be really telling is if who starts on the Germany game and is if they play the whole time. If he does
Yeah,
another halftime switch, I have no idea. But if there's
yeah,
one person playing the whole time, I think that's our starting goalkeeper. Unless they really blow it. against Germany. So that's my thought.
Let's hope not. Yeah.
So then we go into central defenders. Like I said, we're playing. Hopefully, we play the 3-4-2-1. That means we have three center backs, and we're bringing six to the tournament. We have Alex Friedman, who's a nice young lad who's playing for Villarreal in the Spanish league. He can also play as a right wing back. We have Mark McKenzie, who plays for Toulouse in the Ligue 1 in France. You have good old Tim Ream, who's our captain. That might be a little sarcasm right there. And he plays for Charlotte FC and MLS. Um, he is definitely the one in the defense that has the most appearances. He has 81. He even played before he played in that cycle for where the disaster happened for the 2018. So he's the only surviving relic from that era. Um, but he's 40 years old. So I don't know if you saw the stat, Ben, but he's older than Freddie Adu.
I saw that headline. Yeah.
If some of y'all know that name. But then you have the heart of our defense with Chris Richards from Crystal Palace. They just won the Europa Conference League, so he's riding high there. They have Miles Robinson. Um, he has World Cup experience from the 22 World Cup. Um, and he plays for FC Cincinnati. Just a note, Tim Ring was also on the 22 roster as well. And then you have Austin Trusty, plays for Celtic in the Scottish League. They just won their title there after a really interesting league season.
Yeah. I think
So,
it was what the last day or last game of the season that they won, right?
yeah, they were behind. They were in second place the whole season until that, which is weird for Celtic.
Yeah.
So, and it was not even Rangers who were in first place. It was Hearts that were in first place. So it was a very interesting season as well. So, what are your feelings about our center back situation, Ben?
This is my second biggest concern on the team.
Yeah.
I love Tim Ream. I love. I just wish Tim Ream was in his early 30s and not 40 years old. Um, this has been, it's tough. He's been named captain, so that implies some things about the lineup. There's certainly presence he brings, um, but athletically, he's a 40-year-old dude keeping up with guys that are at times 20 plus years younger. It's a tall ask, and it's when we play a high press, that's the thing that scares me.
Yeah, I agree. But I think the hope there is Chris Richards. I
Oh
think
yeah, absolutely.
he's our heart and soul of our defense. So it's good to see he had a little bit of injury late in the season in the Premier League, but they've been I don't know if you've looked at US Twitter or Instagram, they've been oversharing him doing well at training.
It,
So
it's yeah, the late season injury was described as torn ligaments.
yeah,
And so, allegedly he's going to be able to go, but super concerning. We desperately need him to be in the game. And I would say even if he's 85, 90%, I would take him over almost everybody else on this list.
yeah, I would agree. I would agree. So we'll get into the lineups later and who our preferred center back pairing will be, but know that this is the three people in our center back. The next where we're a little, well, I guess we're strong here, but we don't have depth, and that is our
Yeah.
wing backs. So when I was talking about the formation guys at home, three, that's the center backs, and the four, that's two center mids in the middle, which we'll get into those in a second. But the wing backs, instead of a true right back and left back, they kind of play, it's a hybrid role with both being a right and left defender, but also being a winger at the same time. Just for the people at home who may not know too much about soccer, that's kind of what this position is. So they're responsible just as much as defense as attack. So that's where you got Max Arson out of the Columbus Crew. You have Serginho Dest. He's at PSV Eindhoven, but he also has some experience at Barcelona, at Milan. And I don't know if Ben, if you saw the rumors today, Bayern Munich wants him.
Oh, I didn't see that. No, that'd be awesome.
So they're very interested. So more than likely he'll have a big move this summer. And then you have Anthony Robinson, or Jedi Robinson, as he's also like to be called, who's probably top two left back in the Premier League. I don't think
Yeah.
that's a controversial statement at all. So, and then you have Joe Scally, who plays for Borussia Mönchengladbach. That's always a mouthful, but he can also play center back. So ultimately, we have seven center backs. And on this wing back, Alex Friedman, who plays center back, can also play wing back. Then we also have Timothy Weah can play wing back too if we need it. And same with Weston McKinney. So, but we'll get to them and they're more, let's just say, the more fruitful positions a little later. Um, so, but this is kind of like Serginho Dest and Anthony Robinson. They matter the most and they are guaranteed starters. But after that, it's kind of wishy-washy. Would you say, Ben?
Yeah. There's a whole lot of question marks after that.
Yeah. Because I don't think Max Arson can defend to save his life. But then Joe Scally is all defense and no attack. So it's kind of, what do you got there? So, but they will both, if Serginho Dest and Anthony Robinson are playing fully what they're capable of doing, they're going to be a major part of our attack throughout this whole tournament. Um, and you can guarantee on the day of, Serginho Dest's team will automatically have a highlight video on his Instagram with some cool music to it and just coolly edited, and that's happening.
I just want to know if he does that himself or if he's got a guy.
I
I,
want to
I
think,
hope I hope he's got a guy.
yeah, how
Like, oh, it's my
fast it
video.
comes out, I think he has
My,
a guy.
it's like I got a video. My video guy's got this. Maybe he's got a team. I don't know.
Yeah. So then we're going to the middle two in that four, which is our center mid, center defensive mids. So just for people at home, CDM is a center defensive mid, more defensive oriented. And then usually a center mid is think of like a deep lying playmaker type, or it can be a box to box midfielder. That's usually what this role kind of pertains to. Um, which Poch doesn't truly do a double pivot, which that's usually where you have two center defensive mids. So he kind of does play with a center defensive mid that will kind of go like that, and then the center mid will move up with the attack for those at home. So really, the center defensive mid, when we're on attack, he kind of turns into another center back almost, is a way to
Mhm.
think about it. So with that though, this is another one I think just like the wing backs, Ben. First order of business is great. Second is a little concerning. So we have Tyler Adams, which is our bulldog, and he plays for Bortman, and they finished sixth in the Premier League. I don't know if you know this, Ben. If you actually look at the games, they were undefeated in the Premier League the whole in all of 2026.
Yeah, they had an incredible season. He's a huge part of it. I mean,
Yeah.
yeah,
So and he'll more than likely get a move this summer as well, which is really cool. I think he deserves it. Um, but he will be as Chris Richards is our heart and soul of our defense. He's our heart and soul of our midfield. Actually, he's really the heart and soul of the team, right?
I
He,
think so.
he's the one that will show up if a player gets thrown to the ground. He'll be there ready to scrap and fight and
Yeah,
defend his team.
he is probably the closest player in the team to Dempsey, just
Yeah,
temperamentally. Um,
yeah. And then we have Sebastian Berhalter. If you recognize that last name, he is the son of the last coach, Greg Berhalter. He plays for the Vancouver Whitecaps. And he'll get a move this summer too, which will be interesting to see because he'll be on a free. His contract will be up, so there'll be a free transfer. And good on him. He wants to go to Europe, so he's going to challenge himself, and he wants to challenge these other guys. He will be our free kick specialist, though, on this team. You know, you can say whatever you want about his normal on the field play, but dude, this guy can score off of free kicks or set up assists on free kicks. It's almost like a pinpoint accuracy, which we've been missing for a long time in the US,
Yeah.
which especially if you're going into the final minutes of a game, putting him on, and we do get a PK, or not just a PK, like any kind of free kick. It's good to have someone like that in the depths of a game in that second half. Then we got Weston McKennie, who plays for Juventus. He, dude, this guy, I love this man.
Well, one of my favorite players as well. Yeah.
Yeah, him and Tyler. Um, I think how Weston plays for y'all at home. Dude, this guy can play any position on the field. That's the
Yeah.
beauty of Weston McKennie. I would say his best position is box to box, which that's what this center mid will let him do. And him and Tyler have been playing ever since the youth ranks together. So they have a level of chemistry and brotherhood that'll do good for us.
Yeah. Yeah. Weston's like the unhinged part of the like if you think like the bad like the right the Bash brothers, like he's like the unhinged one. Tyler Adams is like the one that somebody's got to talk to the cops, and he kind of keeps things together. But between the two of them, they have a really nice midfield pairing.
Yeah. And then probably the most confusing pick on the whole roster is Christian Roldan, the Seattle Sounders. Um, I will say he fights for the badge. That's the best I can say nicely about Christian Roldan.
Yeah.
That should tell y'all enough at home. Because I think this is the other spot to talk about, like the biggest roster snubs are in this spot.
Yep.
I think Aiden Morris and Tanner Tessman, either over them, I think they deserve to be here over Christian Roldan. And they're a better depth piece than Sebastian Berhalter and Christian Roldan. Like I said, I can get Berhalter because of real nice to have someone with good free kick skills in the depth of a second half, and you need a goal. But
Yeah.
Christian Roldan, not so much. So this is just like the wing back position, like we talked about earlier. Good first set, and then okay. Now we're getting into these next two positions. Ironically, for the US, usually this is not true. Uh, but this is where we have the most depth is in this cam position and forwards. So talking about cams, that's center attacking mid. How we play is we have two. So think about the four people behind, and then basically two guys, and then you have a forward. So they're sitting right behind the forward, but right in front of the center mid and the center defensive mid. So these are kind of the engines of our attack for our team. And this is, like I said, this is where we have a lot of depth. And I would say, Ben, also different types of players that can fit in these roles, which I think helps when you're playing different types of teams with different types of tactics and formations.
Yep.
If you need a guy that can run for days, you put on Brendan Aronson. If you need someone that can juke some people, maybe Zen Dejas or Pulisic, you know, whatever. It's different, based on who we got.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Absolutely. No, you nailed it. Nothing to add there.
So we got Gio Reyna, Borussia Mönchengladbach. He is the son of Claudio Reyna, which used to be the captain for the U.S. national team at one point in career, which I was at my first World Cup I watched, 2006. He was the captain. Gio can also, if we end up switching to a winger system, which actually this applies to pretty much every one of these guys here, is they can all play wingers if we need to. But also Geo can play a box to box midfielder or even like a deep lying playmaker if need be. It's not his best position, but I rather have Gio Reyna than Christian Roldan. So just throwing that out there. Then you have Malik Tillman playing for Bayer Leverkusen in the Bundesliga. All these fun names, if you can't tell, they're all German. So he can play winger. They have Brendan Eriksson, um, which just came off a phenomenal season with Leeds. Um, so he can play the winger position as well. You have Christian Pulisic, which is probably our star. Like he's the celebrity guy, whatever you want to put it. He doesn't like to be that guy, but he's the poster boy for this team. Like we've
Yeah.
had Dempsey and Donovan for past World Cups. Pulisic is definitely the poster boy for this World Cup. I saw like 3 ads today from YouTube to uh, watching something earlier on Peacock. Like I've already seen 3 different types of commercials with him in it. So he's our poster boy, and he plays for AC Milan. Then we got Tim Weah, who plays for Marseille in League One. He can also play, which is important for us as a depth piece, because I think he's a little better than Joe Scally and Max Arson, but he can play that wing back position as well. So, like, to give you all an example at home, Des can play either side. So if something happens to Robinson, Des can move over to that left side, and we can bring Tim Weah in right here. Um, then we have Alejandro Zendejas, which I'm excited about him. He's probably the inclusion I'm most excited about since he was kind of like an outsider, but he's easily one of the top 5 players in Liga MX, which is the Mexican league. And he plays for Club America. He plays in the Azteca every other week. So he knows the big game feel. And he knows critical fans. So I'm excited. How are you feeling about our central attacking mids?
I feel great about our attacking mids and our forwards. I think this is the most talented group, top to bottom, that we've probably ever had
Yeah.
on the national team.
Yeah. And I think, I don't worry about depth here. I don't worry about if Pulisic gets injured, throw in Brendan Aronson. If, Tillman gets injured, throw in Reyna. I don't worry here. So I'm happy for them. Now, probably the most exciting thing is this last group, because Ben, just as much as me, this has been the biggest struggle for the U.S. national team to have a striker, not just a good striker, but a good striker playing in a top 5 league and banging in goals in Europe. But we got 3 guys that can do this. So I'm really excited. And they're all a different type of striker as well, which also makes me excited.
Yeah,
So we got Florin Balogun, plays their AS Monaco. Just came out to yesterday that he got awarded the MVP for Monaco for the season. So if that kind of shows you how much of an important player he is to them, he's um, he was going on a streak of scoring 15 goals in 15 games. It got broken. Wait, no, it didn't get broken because he scored against Senegal. So I guess he's 16 goals in 16 games. Um,
yeah,
so the man's on fire. And then the other person is Ricardo Pepe playing for PSV, and he's he's coming off quite a few goals as well in the Everdizzy. I think it was 19 for the season. And then you have Haji Wright, 18 for the season in the championship, and Coventry just got promoted as well. And also, he's learning under Frank Lampard, which is not a bad guy to learn under. And Haji can also, if we move to a winger system, he can also play on the wing as well. So I'm excited for this trio and what they can do.
yeah. I agree. I think it's going to be a lot of fun to watch. I mean, it is unusual that this is one of the harder decisions in a starting lineup is which one of these guys is going to go.
Yeah. Well, I guess that's modern soccer. We do the one striker these days. So you just got to pick. So, but they will, I think, based on whatever season, whatever thing we're doing, whatever type of team. Also, these guys are also super athletic, so it's good to have these types of, a good sub coming on in the late, take advantage of some tired defenders as well.
Yeah.
So now we're going to get into what we each think is the best lineup. Then we have a lineup which we can argue about a little bit, which is what we think Potch's lineup is going to be. But I think I got an idea there. So Ben, what do you think the best lineup for this team is?
I've been struggling with this. I don't know that I have all the answers. I think I think it is a 3-4-2-1. I think that's the most realistic. Now, my dream lineup, and I know it's not going to happen, but I do not have Ream as a starter.
Yeah.
I think
Same.
again the biggest issue, and we saw it in the Belgium game, is we got cooked so many times with a really fast winger. Now, granted, world class, one of the best, but Jeremy Doku burned us again and again and again down the side, and multiple people didn't have enough pace to keep up with him. I love Ream. I just think he's not quick enough for most of the teams we're going to face.
Yeah.
Um, but he's been named captain, so it would be highly unusual for the captain not to start slash impossible. So I think we can pencil him in and work around that. But I'm torn. I don't. You know, Robinson had a pretty rough moment against Senegal that led to the really awkward goal against Brady. So, I'd love to see. I think it's McKenzie, Richards, and Trusty on in the back.
That's the same for me. That's kind of my feeling. That's the best option.
I think so. I think in the attack in the wingers and the attacking mids, I think it's going to be Tyler Adams and Weston McKennie in the center. And then the wingers, it's going to be this is I think a lock. It's going to be Jedi Robinson, Anthony Robinson, and it's backing up Pulisic, and it's going to be Dest on the right side.
Yeah.
When we get to the two, attacking wingers, it's Pulisic, and this is where I struggle the most. I don't
Yeah.
know who is going to be on the right side. I could make an argument for Reina. I could make an argument for Weah. I, I kind of think it's going to be Timothy Weah because I think that gives us built-in flexibility to have an extra essentially defender on the field if we have to do a dramatic shape change tactically without burning a substitution. I could see something happen where he pulls back and we go more conservative on get a back four with
Yeah.
a quick shape change. So that's my guess. And then I think Balogun's going to start. But man, he and Pepe both had awesome games against Senegal.
Yeah. Who do you think's in goal?
I think it's gonna be Freeze. I think we may be jumping ahead, but my hope at least was that the Senegal game was the last chance for Poach to tinker, and he wanted to see both Turner and Brady one last time.
Yeah.
But I think Freeze is going to be the starter. Turner backing him up. I don't. Brady's not going to, in my mind, unless there's an injury. Brady's not going to see the pitch.
Yeah. So I think I only have one difference in the lineup of what I think our best lineup is, which I may get some hate for this one. For the right attacking midfielder, I think Aronson. I've watched him a lot at Leeds this season, and I think with our high press, he's kind of the guy we need. We need that engine. I don't. We McKenny's an engine as well, but I think he's going to have more defensive responsibilities. So I think someone like Aronson that's more focused on attacking. I think he's the guy. I mean, I can make an argument for Tillman. I think Reyna is going to be used as a super sub, but I think it's between Tillman and Aronson.
Yeah.
Is kind of my feeling. Now, what do I think Potch will do? I think you're right. Freeze and goal. He's definitely doing a Friedman Richards Ream center back pairing. That's what I think he's doing. Would you disagree?
No. And I'm okay. I mean, Freeman and McKenzie, I think, the writing's been on the wall that Ream is going to start. And I think if we can camouflage his age and athleticism, and if we can get the benefit of, he's great on the ball, he's a great passer. If we can take advantage of his skills and not get exposed, I think it's a huge win. But if we do this, this will be the target of every smart team that plays us will be going after Tim Ream.
Yeah. I am interested in if Pochettino realizes this and has the humility to just not start Ream anymore. I would be curious if that will happen. Um, but
And it may be the yeah, the Germany game may be really interesting. I mean, my hope is that we've not actually seen our best roster. I mean, there was, huge outcry during the Gold Cup because we essentially we had a B plus team in camp for the Gold Cup,
yeah,
which, we had a couple of guys that, you know, Tillman was one. He had an incredible Gold Cup.
yeah,
Arfston had a really good game, several really good games, but we've not actually really seen our true starting 11. Even the March friendlies, we had, you know, folks that were still injured and out, and so I'm going to say another, it was probably a B plus, A minus lineup. So I just want to see Pacha's starting 11 and truly understand what we think. And I'd love to see that for the first half against Germany. These
yeah,
friendlies are unusual. I think everybody gets 10 substitutions. And you think about it, nobody wants to get hurt right before the World Cup. So you're going to see a 95% effort game. You're going to see a lot of changes, but I'd love to see his plan starting 11 take the field against Germany for the first half and hopefully get some answers. I mean, it may be, who knows? It may be where, if we get cooked in that game on the back line, that, that leads to an analysis of what actually sets us up to be most successful when the real games start.
yeah. Most definitely. I do like that thought. I hope he does his true lineup for that first half. Because we get so many subs, you can flip to a whole completely different lineup for the second half. So, but I hope I'm wrong, but I think for that center, because they'll do Des Robinson, that's a lock, guaranteed lock. I think he's going to do Adam Spurhalter. I really do. But listen to me, because I think how he's been playing McKinney lately, the two attacking mids will be Pulisic, McKinney.
I'd be okay with that. I think we'd be crazy if McKinney's not on the field.
Yeah. No,
Um,
I was thinking about what his lineup will probably be. He's been starting Berhalter a lot. I think he really likes him. So
yeah, I could see. I mean, I think he really is the best. For in years past, Pulisic was our free kick guy,
Yeah.
and he's good. He's good, but he's not great. And
Yeah.
I think Berhalter is like the our James Rodriguez, like
Yeah.
awesome, awesome ball delivery. And maybe, if the plan is we're going to press enough, we're going to push enough, we're going to get fouled enough that we have a ton of chances to do this and we take advantage of it. I could see that. I'm worried in the Senegal game. Berhalter's not a great defender. You know,
Yeah.
he got bodied off the ball several times. And so that again, this is, I'm not a manager, but everything's a tactical thing. If that is worth the trade-off in his mind, potentially so. But I think there's got to be a short leash on that. And if that turns out to a problem, we got to make a change.
Yeah. Well, it's the humility, right? Of recognizing this isn't working. And it's the same thing with Ream, right? So hopefully you can see that. Then I think Balogun, I think he's undisputed at this point. So yeah,
Yeah. But it's, that, I mean, I saw it in the Belgian game. Pepe came in, I think it was the 70th minute, 75th as a sub, and I think he and Aronson in a pressure move caused a turnover, got a goal back late in that game to make it look a little less embarrassing than it was. And I think, another super sub role where you're bringing in fresh legs late in the game to just keep the heat on people and, ideally add to a big, add goals to help with the goal differential in a win, or if it's late and we're pushing, try and get some more legs to help bring something back.
yeah. So hopefully that gives you an idea of the roster. Now, before we move on, Ben, I want to make sure you have plenty of time or
I do. Yep.
okay. Just making sure before we keep on going, because we still got two more sections. So just making sure. Don't want to be respectful of your time. So
No, I appreciate it. You probably heard my dog being a little grumpy in the background, but she's all right. She can wait.
so next we're gonna just kind of give y'all let's kind of think of it as so you can kind of know this team a little more, what we think are strengths, what we think are weaknesses, and kind of what the biggest storyline. So Ben and I asked Ben to come up with three of each. I've come up with three of each. And if we have the same, that's okay. Hopefully for you guys at home, that makes you realize, oh, this is a big thing. So like, oh, that is our strength. Oh, this must be a really obvious weakness. So, um, Ben, if you'd like to go first, what's one strength for you of this team?
Yeah, I think the biggest thing, and I think I saw it, in the March games as well. We have gotten fast starts in games with a ton of early opportunities, and I think we saw it against Belgium, and we scored the first goal and went up, and um, saw it against Senegal. I think if we can continue that combined with a high press, I think that's a huge strength of this team.
Yeah, um, I agree. We're taking it to them instead of just sitting back,
Yeah,
which you and I both know that's never been a real characteristic of the U.S. national team. So it's nice to see that in this team. Um, one of the strengths I think we have right now is our strikers are in form. We just talked about it. Like that is a massive strength going into this. All three of them have been scoring the last couple of months. So that's a good thing. You want your strikers to be in form. You want them to be confident. You want them to be a little cocky, right, Ben? You want them to walk the walk and be like, make other teams fear them. So I think that's a strength for us right now. So it's another strength, Ben.
I think this is a fresh one on the list since Sunday. I think a strength is Pulisic got a goal and assist, and he seems like he had a rough club season. He's had a dry spell, and I think and I was listening to a podcast with him today. I think he even talks about gets in his head a little bit too much sometimes, and I think the results of the Senegal game have helped get him in a better spot. And when he's in a better spot, we are better as a team.
Yeah, I agree. I agree. Well, since you picked a player, our other strength, I think, is Tyler Adams, which we've talked about already. He is the heart and soul of this team. You could say it this way: he's the guy that cares the most, and he will fight for everyone. Everyone's family on the team. Everyone matters. These are his brothers, and he'll fight till the end. He'll even put his body on the line, which we've seen before, whether it's been kick in the face or taking a foul or taking a ball to awkward spots. He's done just about everything for this team, and I think a healthy Tyler Adams is going to help us achieve whatever we're going to achieve.
Absolutely.
So what's another strength? What's your last strength, Ben?
I think the last one, and this is maybe I'm being ambitious and thinking this is a strength, but I think we will have a lot of set piece opportunities.
Yeah,
I think Pulisic especially is a player that draws a lot of fouls.
yeah,
And so, this is a high risk, high reward. We want him to stay healthy, but and it's been true, whether when he was at Chelsea and now at Milan, he we will win a lot of free kicks, and if we can take advantage of them, and I think, we've gotten better in the last few years with set piece execution.
yeah.
This is kind of one of the few times that you have a stoppage and you can essentially run a play of some type. And so I think if we can execute on some of those, I think that could be a huge potential for us.
I agree. Which that's also why I think the Berhalter thing makes sense
Yeah,
uh,
that's fair.
in the lineup. So my last strength is, I think, for us, especially with, it's not just we're the host. It's also the 250th anniversary of the United States. This country needs something to unify us. I think we're going to have some host magic. I think that's really going to be a major factor in all of this, and I think that's a strength. Um, and it's the perfect time of year for that. Especially with 4th of July. Like, we could potentially be playing a knockout stage match on the 4th of July. Like,
It'd
just
be incredible. Yeah.
they do a fireworks show before the match, so people are hyped. Maybe they let an eagle fly across the whole field. People are going to go crazy. And I do think, because that's what's been hard in the past with this team, because this has been a factor for old US teams, like they really do thrive off the crowd, kind of that American spirit.
Yeah.
Because we've been down in the depths, in the trenches lately, there's not been a lot of that spirit. And I think that's part of what's been affecting this team as well. Not just tactics, but kind of just also like there's not much caring or a lot of like pessimism and all of that. So I think this host magic can play him. It's the 12th man thing, right? I really do think it's a real thing. Um,
Yeah.
and we're playing with us playing other nations, and most of them not Central American or Mexico. We do actually have a home field advantage. I think that's fair to say, because that's the joke in CONCACAF is United States never has a home field advantage in the United States because we have immigrants from all these countries in our country, and they show up overwhelmingly. So,
Yeah. Yeah. Especially any game in Texas or Southern California. I mean, that's why we're often so strong in Columbus, um, in part, or you play to the weather and you go play in Denver and just make it miserable for everybody.
that's still one of the most iconic games when we played Costa Rica in the snow.
God, it was a very CONCACAF game.
A lot of leg chopping, if I remember
Yeah. Oh yeah, yeah. It was well. That's any game when we play Costa Rica.
correctly. So, what are our three weaknesses? I'll let you go ahead and go first again. Share one of our weaknesses.
I think the probably the foremost one that I think about beyond positional stuff, which I'll get to. I think this team, there's some concerns with mental toughness.
Yeah.
We as host we qualified automatically, so we didn't have to go through a qualifying cycle. And I think there's also the second part of that is um, the smart play side of mental toughness. Can we avoid, we have a ton of passionate guys. Can we avoid getting baited into stupid yellow cards that lead to yellow accumulation and suspension, things that will hurt us in the long term. And I think that's the biggest unknown, just because we haven't really had to demonstrate it yet in the last, with our starters at all yet. So that's the biggest unknown that I'm concerned about.
Yeah. The last time we did was Copa America, I would say, where we had a real test of it, and we failed. I remember
Badly. Yeah.
Timothy Weah slugging a guy in the face. You know,
Yeah, that's
that kind of shows it.
frowned upon. Yeah.
Yeah. Um, the one my weakness I'll share next is tactical changes. I think this team is not great on when the game plan changes. Like we're very rigid in a system and it's hard. And I don't think this is just the players. This is also Potch and choosing tactics. Like
Yeah.
I don't think that's been the hard part. I don't think he knows these because he's been choosing so many different players. Like you think he knows these players, but really, I don't think he knows these players as well as he should. So he doesn't really know what good tactical changes will work for these guys. So
Yeah.
I think that's definitely a weakness for our team. We're very stuck in a system, which kind of is also what was happening with Berhalter too.
That was my biggest complaint with, I think everybody's biggest complaint with Berhalter is he was trying to fit guys into his preferred system instead of building around the strengths of what was available.
Yeah. I will say Pochettino has more tactics. I just think, it's hard to teach new tricks,
Yeah.
especially when you're not consistently picking the same group of guys. He was
Yep.
constantly, but to be fair, we've had quite a bit of injuries over the last couple of years, like big
Yeah.
times out for a lot of different players. So I know that's affected as well. But you'd think there'd be a little more consistency in tactics if you're trying to build something here. So
Yeah.
that's
Agreed.
one of the weaknesses. So what's your next weakness, Ben?
Your comment flows right into mine. I think my next one is just starting 11 chemistry. We haven't kind of builds on the mental toughness piece. We haven't really seen the starting 11 yet, and that means they haven't played together a whole lot yet. And the chemistry piece is a real, individual. We talked about Adams and McKinney and Pulisic. They've all played together on different youth levels, but starting chemistry across our starters is still a big question mark. And that's the whole the sum is greater than the parts.
Yeah,
And that's the concern. We have a ton of individually talented folks, but if they can't function together, you know, we're not gonna do well.
yeah. I agree with that. My next one we've already talked about, and that's our depth. I think it's going to bite us in the butt. There's a big in depth. What I mean is like there's a big drop off from the starter to the next person in that position. So I think that's going to, especially with defense, I think that's going to bite us in the butt and in the middle of the park with the center mids. So I think it's going to, that could cause us not to go far,
Yeah, yeah,
especially when we're playing a top team, like a top 16 team. We're not talking about Australia here. I'm talking about like if we went up against a Portugal or Belgium. Like that's when we don't have people to fill in those spots, it makes us exposed real quick.
yeah.
So
Yeah,
what's your last weakness?
that was my. It was the combination center back keeper question marks of how do we feel about who's going to start their capabilities, and then just the subset of the pairing, the communication, the chemistry, the subset of chemistry between the center backs and the keeper is so critical, and just making sure that doesn't become a glaring weakness that gets exploited.
Yeah. Yeah. My last weakness, which I've already alluded to, it's Tim Ream. I think it has to. I love the guy personally. I love what he did for us in 22 World Cup and that cycle, but sometimes it's time to put you on the shelf. And
Yeah,
I hate to blame one player, but I feel like he's going to be the reason why we don't go far. If like we talked about, if teams are really exploiting him and Poch doesn't take the humility to change him out, then he's going to be the reason that we don't go far. And I'm only saying for people out there, I'm not trying, like, I think he has a great IQ and everything like that. I just think his legs can't keep up anymore. He's 40 years old. And like Ben said, have a 20 something, or like with Jeremy Doku has shown, you know, going hard against him. Any of these top teams, what if it's a Saka or a Lamine Yamal, he's going to get exploited. And that's
yeah,
essentially, we don't have a goalkeeper that can really, like a Tim Howard, that can step up and be an iron wall
yeah, yeah.
behind.
It's a major concern.
So we'll see. We'll see. Um, yeah. So now the three biggest storylines you think going into this World Cup. Um, that can be questions around players or what have you.
Right.
All of that.
Yeah, I think there's going to be a difference between the three storylines for those that have followed the team and followed the game, and then there's going to be the what I hope is the 300 million folks that become brand new,
Yeah.
the t-shirt fans that have become World Cup fans for the World Cup, and I love that. I hope that happens. I want to see us pack out stadiums and do this thing right. But I think as someone who's followed this for a long time, I think when we hit on a little bit earlier, we've been guilty for a long time of being a pretty rigid system team.
Yeah.
And I think the big storyline is, it's like the old Mike Tyson quote, everybody has a plan to get punched in the mouth. I think it's going to be, can we adapt? Can we make changes? Can we adjust on the fly? You know, do when bad things happen, and something will, can we react to it, or are we just gonna lose our minds?
Yeah. Um, my storyline, my first one, is actually one of the strengths you brought up, and that's Pulisic. Is he going to be consistent? Is he going to have the confidence? Is he going to crack under the pressure of leading this team in America? I mean, these are legitimate questions to ask about him. Um, but my hope is that his teammates are helping him not feel like all the pressure is on him. Because I think that's the role of a teammate. Especially when you have a closeness with Adams and McKinney, like, hey, we you do the attacking thing. We'll hold down the center of the park.
Yeah,
You have that level of friendship. So hopefully his teammates are speaking into him that we don't like the pressure doesn't get to him of being Captain America, America's hero for the World Cup, the poster boy. That'll be the question. Is he going to crack or is he going to play well? So
yeah.
big storyline for the tournament. So what's your second one, Ben?
The second one, we've been the message has been trust the process, trust the process, trust the process. I think the storyline is going to be, can we can we trust the process? And that'll be
Yeah.
the 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 checks come and due is the last 2 years and how they were approached. Is it going to pay off?
Yeah. Did we mess up and not hire BJ? So that's the question.
Yep.
So that's an inside joke for people who watch the U.S. national team a lot. Um, BJ Ball was something to watch. So it was a little small period of time, but it's very nostalgic. So, but my storyline is coming off of you. Does Pochettino care? That's been a big question in these 2 years. From he's not recruiting players, he's not going to games of the players of his national team. Like he kind of just seems like he sits at home and kind of that's what he does. And then it goes with trusting the process. Has he just been throwing darts at names to get it, or does he know what he's actually talking about? So the proof's in the pudding. Has this been a waste of 2 years for us to just wait for the next cycle? You know,
Yeah.
which I think it's hard for us because it's a home World Cup. It's going to hurt even more if we just wasted 2 years on a guy who's just collecting a paycheck.
Yeah.
So, or was he actually doing his homework and we just didn't see it? And he knows what he's talking about, like you said, with trusting the process. That's probably the most used quote by him, is trust the process. So we'll find what the pressure cooker looks like. So, what's your last biggest storyline, Ben?
I think it's kind of a two-parter. It's going to be, you know, we know the diehard fans are going to show up. At least we hope we will. But the part two is going to be, you know, do, does the general public, do the casual fans care?
Yeah,
I think that's going to be a major, and you'll see it, really quickly in the stadium what the storyline looks like. I think it'd be devastating to have all this opportunity right here and not see fans in the stands cheering the team on. But it's tough. I mean, I would have loved to have gone to one of the U.S. games, but the FIFA's a terrible, corrupt organization, and the ticket prices are
yeah,
astronomical. And so, yeah, I'll be at a soccer bar here in town watching, but it's will we see? But I also, I'm a maniac. Like I'll go to a friendly. So it's, will we see the casual fans show up to support the team? I think that's going to make a huge difference.
yeah. Because that's the interesting thing. The Germany game is sold out this weekend, and average ticket price I think was 140 compared to what
Yeah.
the average price was for the group stage games. I think the group stage games were like 3 times as much. Um,
Yeah.
so people are showing out for that game. And then the Senegal game was almost sold out. It had a good attendance, and the average price for that game was $80. So people come out for
And
the
and you
price.
heard, yeah. And I was listening to an interview with Pulisic today and talking about the energy in the stadium in Charlotte, how much the team heard that and felt that. And I think that's, if we can get repeats of that for the games, it's going to be awesome.
Yeah, I agree. Um, so that comes up to my last thing, and that is, which we've kind of been talking about this at all. I think the storyline will be, is this team going to be hot or cold? Is there going to be consistency with the tactical changes and the fighting different types of opponents? Can they be consistent? Because I think that's been a big factor in the Pochettino era. There's not been much consistency. We'll go on a great run of games and we'll go on a great run of losses. So, can we be consistent for the month of June for the group stage and then July for the knockouts? Or is that not going to happen? So,
Yeah.
you hope, right? So, um, then we have the final part, which is what do we consider a failure, a success, and then our own individual predictions for this group. So I think failure is probably the most obvious one. I think we both agree that if we get grouped, that's a failure. And I
Yeah.
may,
And
but
so, yeah,
go ahead.
I said, and exactly. If we don't get out of the group stage, and it's going to be easier this year than ever before. But if we can't do that, that is an unequivocal failure.
And I think what would be considered maybe a D for us is um, getting knocked out in the round of 32. I think that's maybe not close, not failure itself, but as close to it. I don't know if you agree to that, since it is a weaker tournament with more teams.
Yeah, I don't know. I think we've, we have struggled to ever win a knockout stage game. I
Yeah.
mean, it does not happen often for us. I think 2002 was the last knockout stage win. We made it to the round of 16. Um, and that's outside of in modern World Cup history, outside of our third place finish in 1930. That is the best we've ever done. Um, so yeah, I think you could say it, because on one hand, winning a group stage or winning a knockout game would be a huge accomplishment, period, just in light of our recent history. But I think when you look at the overall context of the tournament, I think if we lose in the group of 32, it'll be pretty unfortunate.
Yeah. So success, what do you think? What does success look like?
I think if we can get to the group of 8, I think people will be losing their minds.
Yeah, I think so too. I think at the very least we need to be round of 16, and it looks like a competitive match. I think that's what we got to do at the very least. So, but I worry about us,
Yeah.
you know, if we get to the round of 16 and we're facing a big team, what are we going to do there? So if we can keep it competitive at the very least, I would be okay if we get knocked out if we're facing a Brazil or something like that. And but at least we've kept it competitive the whole time. It's not a blowout like the Belgium game in
Yeah.
March. Um,
Yeah. We can't have a game like that. I mean, what was it 2014? We made it to the knockouts and we're hanging with Portugal. And then there was just, one breakdown and one counterattack, and that was the game.
no, that was
Um,
2014. That was the Belgian game. Um, that was the
gosh, what year? Okay, I didn't go back and check that date, but I can vividly remember watching a Portugal game.
well that World Cup we beat Portugal in the group stage. That's what I think you're thinking.
I guess it might be. There's clue. I need to go do some research, but yeah, we've got to be competitive. Period. I think if we have any kind of blowout, embarrassment type of loss at any level, that's going to be a problem. I think a success would be advancing and you know, if we get to the round of 16 and we lose, but it's a close, a 1-0, a 2-1, I think especially if we can actually score goals against top tier competition, it's a bittersweet thing, but it's a bittersweet success, but I think it's still considered a success.
Yeah, yeah. And I think if we can play how we played against Senegal and how we played against Uruguay, I think we make quarterfinals. Heck, I think we could even make it to semis just because you throw in host magic as
I
well.
mean,
But but that means we have to be consistent and play like we played against Senegal and
yeah,
Uruguay.
yeah,
So
those are big ifs, but I mean, I think if we're not dreaming for it and pushing for it and you know wanting that, and the players are wanting that, you know, it's not good enough to just be here. I think we can compete and we should compete.
Yeah. So you have to make a decision. What do you think your honest prediction? If you had to say it, what is it?
I think we get to the round of 16. I think we get out of the group. I think we get a win in the round of 32 and get the monkey off our back. And everything from that point forward, I have no idea.
Yeah.
At that point, my um, irrational optimist says, "Hey, we get a win at the round of 16 and we make it to the quarters." But I don't know. Let's at least get to the round of 16.
Yeah, that's kind of where I am as well. I think round of 16. After that, I have no expectations. I'll be there for the ride, you know.
Right.
And, I just don't want to get my hopes up. Just there's a lot of good teams in this tournament as I've been doing my research for all the episodes and everything like that. And you have a lot of interesting teams as well from your like Bosnias. Can they come off their momentum of beating Italy? Or we talked about
Yeah.
them earlier. Norway will be a destructive force. Or like a team like Switzerland, who's always this consistent, hard team to play against.
I
So,
mean, you've got Morocco is probably a dark horse I didn't mention, and
yeah,
I put them, you do some revisionist history here. I would say, Morocco's a dark horse team. I mean, that their run in 2022 is incredible, and that the sum was greater than the parts. And I think if we can channel that kind of approach, I think it could be incredible.
yeah, I agree. So either way, I think I think we can both safe to say we're a little optimistic right now after that Senegal game.
Oh
I think
yeah, I'm,
I
I'm,
think
I'm drinking the Kool-Aid.
yeah, I think the proof is this Germany game coming up. Because if we pull off a win against Germany, riding
Yeah.
high, if we're at least competitive against Germany, I'm in a pretty good place. But if we get a blowout against Germany, uh,
Yeah,
yeah. So I think this Germany game is going to say a lot for what this tournament's going to be.
absolutely.
Because for y'all at home, we have within the last year we have played Turkey, we have played Paraguay, and we've played Australia. We lost, I think it was 3-1 against Turkey. Um, that was a Gold Cup warm up, and that was like our B plus team. But then Paraguay and Australia we both beat this last fall. So I don't think there's a reason why we can't win the group. But at the very
It's
least, I don't want to see us in a third place finish and hoping for the best to get moved on to the next round.
Yeah, I think the projections, the pragmatic side says second place in the group is probably pretty realistic. It's going to come down to the Turkey game. Can we get a win there? They have a very good team, sneaky good team.
Yeah. But I think they're at a Senegal level, I would say.
Yeah,
Senegal's ranked 14th in the world right now. So I think Turkey's about the same. They're a different type of team, but I think they're at that same kind of level, same level as Uruguay as well. Like we can make something happen there.
yeah,
We we've done it. It's
yeah.
just will everyone be ready to play?
Major question.
But I hope for y'all at home that Ben and I's conversation kind of helped you to get to know the US national team. So if you're just a layman who's just getting into the World Cup, doesn't watch soccer on the regular, you can kind of get an idea of the identity of this team. Um, there's a lot of good things about this team. There's a lot of rough things, as Ben and I have described. But I think ultimately, I hope you can, stuff can happen in this World Cup. I don't think it's, I don't think you should be a pessimist.
No,
I mean,
Yeah, that's
I watched the Algeria goal this morning, and we we literally got out of the group stage in the 2010 World Cup with a win and a draw.
yeah,
Yeah.
it can happen.
Uh, the United States has a history of making things happen. So, already think, Ben, the Confederations Cup in 2009. You know, we
Beating Spain.
yeah,
I
world
mean,
yeah. So, you know, it's a very hard relationship being a US national team fan, but I think there's a lot of optimists. Is there anything else you'd like to leave the audience with, Ben, before we get out of here?
I think the big thing for everybody is support this team no matter what. I mean, this is, you try and again set my irrational optimism aside and my diehard fandom aside to have an honest conversation. But I'm gonna support. I'm gonna back this team no matter what. So I hope everybody listening does that as well. Yeah, and thanks for listening to us ramble. I love talking about this stuff. This has been a lot of fun.
Yeah. Um, we'll have to do, Ben, we'll have to do after the group stage, maybe do an episode of recap on the group stage, kind of what our feelings are at that point going into the knockouts.
Absolutely. We might have to do a quick touch base after the Germany game. Just let's see what we got right, what we got wrong.
Then we'll be here for an hour talking about how we got it all wrong. But
Probably,
you never
probably.
know. You never know. So, um, I've been Henry, and that's been Ben, and thanks for listening to us ramble. We'll
Yeah,
see you
thank
next
y'all.
time.